Good evening,
Good evening.
podcast listeners. Today we have a very special guest for the 6th instalment of the Culture Cafe.
It's the 7th.
7th. We're off to a great start, as always. We're welcoming Bridget to the podcast.
Bridget. Thanks for coming.
Guys. I feel honoured to be
Well,
the first guest.
We are honoured to have you here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's just make that clear
Thank
first of all.
you.
And we also have Sam in the background doing our editing today. So,
What's up?
what's up, Sam? So yeah, everything's coming together, which is really exciting. Back to you, Bridget. You are here because today we want to talk about pet mental health.
Pet mental health.
Yes.
Or just pet health in general.
Just pet health in general,
Yeah,
animal cruelty.
Yeah.
And the reason we've chosen you is because you're studying veterinary science.
I am. Well, I'm studying science and majoring in animal health and disease, so
Awesome. So
I'm like,
cool.
I don't know how qualified I am to speak, but I'm
That's
going to
okay.
A
try.
lot more than basically the vast majority
It's
of
also
the
a
population.
bit of a passion of mine, like
Yeah.
animal health and especially welfare, so I love to talk about it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I've known you for quite a while now, and you've always been quite into and interested in animal health and outspoken about how they're treated in society. So it's really good to have you on and hear your opinions on the subject.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Well, before we get into our juicy topic, I was going to say meaty, but that might not be appropriate given the topic. Our juicy topic for today is animal health in general. Let's run through our standard intro where we take a look at the past week, any feedback we've had, and anything else we've been doing with the week. So first of all, we were contacted by Luca Zanella, and he messaged us about the episode on mental health. He had a listen, he really enjoyed it, and basically what Luca had to say was that he really enjoyed it, he took a lot from it, but that we probably could have focused a little bit more on Aboriginal suicide rates, because he knows that they've had a really bad year. So I thought I'd pull up some stats just to raise some awareness on that, because he's absolutely right, we did not look into that at all, and that's a little fault on our behalf. So I've got this article from The Guardian in front of me. It is 3 months old, so it's quite recent, and it states that 35 dead in 3 months, including 3 12-year-old children, which is super scary.
It's terrifying, the 12-year-olds.
Really upsetting stats. And then it moves on to say that 8 of those were in the past week of the journal of the article being published, which was in March this year. So that's really scary. And nearly 90% this year, 90% of suicides this year of children aged 14 years and less have been First Nation children.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Which is really upsetting.
It's such a huge proportion for like how not... It's just
They're overrepresented.
Yeah,
There's the double statistical anomaly in that they are such a small part of the population and they're simultaneously accounting for such a large amount.
Yeah.
So they must have such a huge
It's
issue.
like generational trauma that White Australia is not dealing with
Yeah,
very
and
well.
when we think about it, when we talk about men's mental health as a topic, I know that my mind immediately jumps straight towards a standard white male in society. Like, I can't help it. That's the stereotype I immediately think of. I don't think of the communities outside of our major cities, away from the coast, and how much help they would possibly need.
Especially in rural communities, like they don't have the resources that...
Lack of resources, right?
It's fucked up.
It's really upsetting. So the article does go on to talk about how each of these communities which aren't in major cities receives up to $130,000 to help roll out its action plan. I'm almost going to say that that's like not enough when you're trying to take care of a community and the mental health and mental issues that are going on in that community.
The funding is like messed up for mental health as well, like seeing as how it's like it would prevent so much, like like all the traffic in hospitals and stuff could be prevented through just like starting at the base.
And at the end of the day, it's still a cost to taxpayers. People who aren't treated for their mental health illnesses early on are going to be treated in hospital wards. Like, the money's going to come from somewhere eventually. So
make it out like drug addicts and stuff.
Yeah.
Like their problem is like this. Like we fix it at the beginning. Skip
exactly.
it
Yeah.
No. So thanks, Luca, for bringing that up.
Yeah.
That's the first constructive criticism we've received on the podcast, where someone said, "Nice episode, but you could have looked into this." And So
And I'm
grateful.
grateful.
So
Yeah.
grateful, Big Z. Thank you, man.
That could be an early nod to my grateful moment of the week.
Ooh. Hold up. Hold up.
Shouldn't have let that one slip.
Yeah, so thanks, Luca, for bringing that to our attention, and to the guys listening and watching at home, or on the bus, or on the train, however you're taking in this podcast experience. Yeah, just take a minute to think about that. Men's mental health doesn't just mean the white male population of Australia who live in Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, and Brisbane. It's everyone in Australia, because everyone's affected. And when they say 1 in 4 men will experience it, that's 1 in 4 Aboriginal and white Australian men.
And especially marginalised groups are going to be like heightened. They're going to have worse mental health issues.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
like so important to include them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, arguably more important to include them. Yeah.
Definitely. So yeah, but the general theme remains, no matter who you are, it's great to just have a chat to people and destigmatise mental health
I
issues.
loved that episode.
Yeah,
my
so
feedback
glad.
is like, it's my favourite episode you guys have done.
Thank you,
I was
Bridget.
listening and I was
Thank
like,
you.
fuck yeah, like every point, and then you'd say like that, like a really good like hard-hitting line, and I was like, they've got it, they've done it well.
Thank you very
There's some
much.
feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But where's the constructive feedback?
I would like
Fix
to
the
pick it out.
technical
Yes,
issues.
yeah, fix that. I'd like to have someone on who like suffers maybe. Like I know you guys like were talking about your own. I want first of all, I want more of what you guys were like your own experiences. That was like one of my favorite parts, and I think you could always do more mental health talks.
Definitely.
Build up on top.
Yeah.
Okay, so more first-hand
Just
experience.
Just more.
more.
My favorite part is when you guys bring in your own stuff. Like I love the facts and stuff that I really love.
Yeah, well, that was another
between
thing.
you.
That was another thing that Luke had to say. Similarly, really liked that we both talked about our own experiences. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. So I wanted to talk about, on Friday night, I went to a talk in the city from Michael Pollan, who is a journalist. Now the talk was on psychedelics and how they can change your mind. I'm very interested in psychedelics and what they do to the mind. I think it's fascinating, and it's something that doesn't get enough research because of the stigma surrounding it, that they're illegal drugs and that everyone's very apprehensive because of the horror stories about people having psychotic breaks and that sort of thing. So I went along to this talk with Jonathan Famularo, who's also pretty interested in it all and finds it fascinating. So, hey Jono. It was a great chat. Basically, Michael sat down with another journalist, and I've completely forgotten her name. It was Kathy something. They've both written for the New York Times magazine, so they're very credited, and they're very, what's the word for someone who's very...
Qualified.
Qualified. They're very qualified to sit down and host this discussion. Anyway, Michael spoke about how a lot of studies have been going on recently around the world where they take people who are terminally ill and have anxiety and fear of death, and they have trips with a therapist. So they'll consume a psychedelic drug, and then the therapist sits down and talks to them during the trip and guides them through that.
So interesting.
So interesting, right?
Yeah.
And they had these people who were going through these trips and these guided experiences and coming out of it with no more existential dread or anxiety or depression. And then there was also people who came out of it and still had it, but to a lesser extent. But
and any that had more?
No, well, we didn't hear about any that had more, but that's a good point you bring up.
That's the whole thing, like, if you have it regulated, like, with an expert, you shouldn't be having, like, of course, I literally don't know, I'm just talking shit, but, like, if you've got an expert, you shouldn't be having, like, fucked up trips because you're doing it at the right dose. Like, it's like no education.
And what they do as well is they assess the person before giving them the dose. So not everyone can sit down and do this. People are, who are already susceptible to schizophrenia and any other mental illnesses, they're not going to put these people through the psychedelic trip. They're only going to do people who they've screened and gone, yes, okay. Now I don't know the screening process. I don't know how they do that. I trust that it's a very rigorous process, but those who make it through that will then sit down and do the guided trip. And the general the conclusion was that these people came out of it for the better. I found that really interesting. And it was good how the chat was like, he wasn't like, oh, everyone should go out and do psychedelics. It was all about how more research needs to go into it so we can use these plants, because like
it's like
psilocybin,
natural
mushrooms,
stuff.
it's plants. And it's like, he also brought up a great point how you go to your medicine cabinet and there's going to be all these different painkillers and cough syrups and what have you that have a lethal dose. Psilocybin and LSD have no lethal dose.
Wow.
And that was my biggest takeaway. I was like, okay, that's really interesting. Why aren't we looking more into that? But that's not to say there's not a bad side of people getting anxiety and depression and psychotic breaks from these. And it's something that can't be shoved to the side through excitement of this new avenue.
Yeah. I think, well, if you educate people on how to take psychedelics, like we don't talk about it like it's like a scary thing.
Yeah.
Then it shouldn't be happening as much, you know.
Right.
And I heard this really interesting thing of like using microdosing drugs through therapy, like with people with PTSD who cannot physically go back and experience something that's fucked them up because it's too traumatic and it'll like their brain has knocked it out.
Right.
They can take like, I don't want to say MD, but
I've heard
like
MDMA.
MDMA,
post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, they think about it through a positive, like a euphoric lens kind of, so they can access it and unpack it without like shutting down. Like there are ways that you can do it.
It's
so
an
sick.
avenue that needs to be explored, and it's such an exciting avenue.
It's so sick.
Yeah, and the whole idea, like we look at Native Indians and they have their peyote ceremonies, which is a psychedelic drug that I don't know too much about, but in their culture they don't call it a drug, it's a medicine.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the approach we should be taking. Like these aren't drugs, they're medicines that need to be tested and looked into and studied and researched, but they're still a medicine nonetheless.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really interesting talk.
That's
and
cool.
you know, it went for an hour and then there's a little Q&A about it. A lot of discussion about decriminalisation versus legalisation, and how if it's legalised, there's a big chance that it will be capitalised on, and it'll end up like weed in the Netherlands, where it's all, you have menus and tourists just flock to it, and it's all about money, whereas decriminalisation just allows people to study it more freely, essentially.
And not go to jail for like...
Yeah, carrying something that grows in their backyard.
Yeah.
Whack.
Yeah, it reminds me of how the criminality of DMT when it's produced in your brain, like
it's
like your
how
brain's
can you
whack,
make-
right?
Let's just go out and arrest everyone real quick.
Yeah.
Makes so much sense.
But
I'm gonna need to see you down at the station, please. Everyone in the world.
because you exist.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to rewire us.
Yeah.
So that was that. I wanted to bring that up. Anyone else who's interested in that sort of stuff, get in touch with us, because we want to do an episode on that and do some research and maybe get someone in who's against it. You don't hear much about people who are against it.
We do have one in the pipeline. Yeah, there's
of
someone
course.
who's against it in the pipeline.
I
so
mean,
it
I
could
think
be
people, when they have a really bad experience, they become like, no fucking way, like that's the devil. Like, and so it's interesting to unpack that.
And
With
it's also it's a pretty subjective point as well, because like
100%.
none of us have had that bad experiences.
No. And I do know someone who has had a terrible trip, which included ego death. I won't go into what ego death is now, but it's interesting if you read up on it. And he came out of it, felt pretty crappy for a few days, reflected on it, began writing about it in a journal, and now says that it was the most transformative experience he's ever had. Even though it was absolutely horrible at the time and super traumatic. And he says he wouldn't want to do it again, but he's really glad that it happened.
Wouldn't go back there, but
So yeah, it's interesting.
Well, my favourite fact is like that fungi are more closely related to humans than they are to plants.
Fungi is
like,
very
whoa,
interesting, yeah.
What the fuck? And we kind of ignore them as like a whole kingdom. They're their own kingdom. Like,
It's crazy.
There's so much that we can learn.
Wow.
There was a study done, I believe it was in Japan, and they took this fungi and put it in a lab, and they put it into some soil, and within 24 hours it had created an information system where the fungi were like,
So cool.
and not in a language we know or a language we see as language, but basically became connected to itself and was able to nourish itself and grow through this information system that was like miles more effective than the Japanese rail system.
Oh wow.
And that's like a really interesting perspective that like, hey, I'm about to get super advanced like and weird right now, but if we could harness that, like that ability to be able to create information systems that are that effective and then use that in our own day-to-day
So biomimicry, where we like take stuff from
Nature.
like syringes, like that's how we got it from mosquitoes. Like they
Really?
copied how mosquitoes, like proboscis or whatever, injects, and that's how we made like.
The plant world
There's so
and
much
animal
cool
world
stuff like
is
that.
crazy.
I know, it's wild. It's
Wow.
so good.
That's
And
awesome.
there's that one, I saw an article the other day of this fungi that can like biodegrade plastic in like 24, like something wild.
Yeah.
Fungi is
Big
cool.
stuff, yeah.
We need to get
A whole
more into
podcast on
fungi.
it. Let's do it.
We'll have you back in.
Okay.
This isn't the first. This is the first. It's not the last though.
Yeah. And we also got up to something else exciting on Saturday night, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
Curtis and I had a cheeky date.
We did. We had a date night. First Culture Cafe date night. It was
Yeah.
good. Almost feel like I'm on one right now with this candle.
Ooh, and these
Yeah.
coffees.
Yeah. We went out to Mezog, down Ethiopian restaurant in Northgate, and we had some Ethiopian food,
We did have some Ethiopian food.
which we were going to give a little review about because we just enjoyed the experience of getting into an alternative culture's cuisine.
Yeah, it was super cool. I loved the food.
Yeah,
I
as
thought
did
it was
I.
delicious. And it was just so different to anything I've ever had before.
Although I would draw the closest parallels with Indian. It reminded
Yeah.
me a lot of Indian food.
Yeah, it was quite definitely. There was a lot of, so there was no cutlery.
Cutlery.
You eat with your hands.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best.
So we got this big plate that came out, and I'll describe it to the camera now. Sorry to anyone who's listening, I'll be as descriptive as I can. This big plate came out, and it had flatbread on the base of it, on this plate. And then on the flatbread, there was a name for the flatbread, which should definitely remember.
No, I remember the name for the spice mix,
Injera.
but not the... Yeah,
Was
I
it
don't know.
injera?
I don't know, I'm not sure.
So flatbread, and we got the chef's platter, and we got it was halved, and it was the same thing on each half. So there's red lentils, yellow lentils, this mix of greens. I'm not sure how it was
Was it
made.
vegan?
We got
I
actually
assume.
it could have been. It was
Ours-
definitely vegetarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it just had these different things on each side, and then this rolled up flatbread, and you tore up the rolled up flatbread and dipped it in, and then once that rolled up flatbread was done, you tore from the base, the flatbread base, and like
So good.
rolled it up and just went,
Yeah.
Yeah. And the
I'm
bread
like,
was
why
made...
was I not invited to
Yeah,
Culture Cafe Day?
well, we could be getting a big crew going down there soon,
would love
probably.
to.
And
It'd be
the
a
bread
really
was
cool
made
group
from...
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the bread was made from lentils and water, apparently. There wasn't flour.
All that protein, I
So
need it.
if you're gluten free, get into the Ethiopian culture because they got you covered.
Yeah, it was really good.
Where
Yeah.
was this?
It was just on High Street Northgate, opposite the Peacock Hotel. You know that one? No, it's near the town hall.
We were driving to
Town.
work and we were talking about how we need to eat more, like, variety. We
Yeah.
need to have more variety in what we eat. And then as we're turning, I just picked Curtis up and we're turning down the road and we see this sign for Ethiopian food. and we're like,
the bright
It's
light.
right next to my house, basically.
it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's definitely a word for that.
Yeah, serendipitous.
Serendipitous.
Dipitous.
Yeah. There we go.
That's it.
Serendipitous moment.
An omen.
An omen.
And then we went, so we had to follow our personal legend.
Yeah.
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 Shout out to the Alchemist.
Yeah.
Good
Good
read.
book.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's our Ethiopian food review for the week. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll have something for next week. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good
We'll see what
segment.
happens.
Yeah.
Spread out a little.
The more businesses that actually sponsor us, the more interested I'll be in going.
Yeah. So if you're out there and you have a business and you want to sponsor us with some food / coffee,
Yeah.
coffee especially, hit us up.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing to move into, Curtis and I decided to, as we spoke about in the last episode, we want to have a sober. Well, you're doing a month.
Yeah.
Whoa,
I've said I'll
nice.
finish
Just
off
about,
July
yeah.
sober and see how I go.
What is it? A week?
Yeah, I have another week.
It's killing me.
No, so this was our first sober weekend in a while. Oh, it was the first sober weekend I've had in a while. You were sober a few weekends ago.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It's
Changed my life.
it feels good. I woke up this morning and I was a human. I
I'm
wasn't a
so
shell of a human.
jealous of you guys.
Yeah.
I woke up this morning like the crustiest woman alive. Like, you know, you wake up at 8:30 and like you fall back, like it's just like that horrendous thing.
You wake up and it's like, it's not time to wake
Yeah.
up. I've not slept enough.
And you like sip
Yeah.
one thing of water and you're like, oh.
Your throat's so
So
dry.
dry.
And you wake up needing to
Yeah.
pee and
And I'm
nothing
still
goes well.
feeling pretty
Yeah.
worse for wear right now. I'm so jealous.
You're
of you
doing
guys.
great.
Yeah.
No, so it's good. Yeah, a sober weekend. I definitely recommend. If you've had a few big weekends, just sprinkle a little bit
Yeah.
of sobriety in there somewhere, and you won't regret it.
Did
It
you
feels
have any
pretty
like mind-opening thoughts while you're sober talking to other drunk people? Do you know?
Not quite.
But there's it's distinctively enjoyable in that you remember everything that's happening, and when you're talking to people, you actually say good stuff. You're actually having a good conversation.
You don't wake up and go, why did I say that?
Yeah.
It's like me being like, oh yeah, did you know this to Curtis before? And he was like, yeah, you told me that last night. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, someone came up to me and said, was telling me a story. I'm like, yeah, no, you told me. And they're like, you've already told me this whole story. And then that person was like, what have I done?
Yeah, like...
I don't remember that.
And how did you go with telling people that you weren't drinking and their reaction?
Yeah, no, it was really fine. More fine than the few weekends ago. There were more people like, as if like there's free alcohol provided, you should be drinking and stuff.
Yeah.
But this time was really chill. Everyone was no one questioned it. No one gave it a second thought with me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
what about you?
I think there was like a few people who were like, oh, why aren't you drinking? You know, like a bit of resistance, but it was completely harmless.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
It's just shocking because we're just binge drinking.
Yeah, and it's like, what do you mean you're having a sober weekend?
Yeah, why?
You're not going to have any fun.
Yeah.
Actually, I did get one person who was like, oh, what? What's wrong with you? They literally said that. Said,
What's wrong with you?
I was like, I don't know.
It's like, I want to do that now.
Yeah, do it, man.
But I'll do it sneaky, like I won't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Bit of a social experiment.
Yeah.
Just get a small glass and fill it with water and ice and a lime.
Yeah.
And it'll look like a vodka soda.
Just drinking it all night.
Yeah. And I felt also being around a lot of drunk people, you can sort of like subconsciously, as we just model off talking to other people, I like somewhat mimic how I behave when I'm drunk. Like I'm a little bit more extroverted, say like weirder stuff.
Yeah. Just do it because no one's gonna remember.
No one
You can just go wild.
Mm.
It's like at Strawberry on the last day, I didn't do any drinking or anything, and everyone around me was like
Good save.
bit going wild, and I was just like, I'm
happy.
fucked. I just felt like so drunk.
Placebo.
Like just for no reason. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good.
amazing.
And
I love that.
Drove home and I was like feeling good.
I'm a normal person.
Yeah, it's really good.
Part of society.
That's the introduction. This nice long introduction.
Nice,
I like it.
Little discussion. Yeah. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know what you think of the longer introductions. I enjoyed that. It was a bit of a smooth
good.
introduction.
Beautiful. I feel good. Loosened up.
So Bridget's come onto the podcast. Obviously, thank you so much for that. To talk about pet health and both physical and mental.
Yeah.
And not only animals as pets, but also the role of animals in society, perhaps, and what's going on there, which is good to talk about. So
I think people don't really put much thought into this kind of stuff. I feel like it's a bit like you guys had this big conversation about mental health last week, and like coming in on like pet health sounds a bit like not hard hitting.
It's cool though.
It is.
I didn't realise that.
There's interesting stuff to say about it, especially pet mental health. I think like no one considers like animals, we're so like anthropocentric. That's where we're just like humans, like, and no one considers that like of course animals are like they have anxieties. They have
what was that word?
Anthropocentric. Like
yeah,
humans as like the center, like we see everything as human lens.
Yeah, as we live in the Anthropocene, apparently, like
there
we're defining the age because humans are just.
That's a cool new word that I've never heard before.
Yeah,
it's a good one. We talk about it a lot in my at uni because it's like kind of like the reason why so much of the animal welfare issues that we face are because we're just like either like we see ourselves as above or like we just see animals as sometimes we see them as they are humans, so they should act this way because like why don't you react to how I'm being like yelling at you or like a dog, like why don't you understand? It's like because it's a dog, like of course it doesn't understand.
So guilty.
I know, and we get so frustrated at our pets, but it's like they are a different species. They don't understand our language.
Yeah,
it's true.
So
I feel that.
It's
Speaking
true.
of pets, should we bring in our second special guest?
Yeah.
See how long she lasts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't promise that she'll be in for long, depending on how she behaves. But
this is for the watchers only.
This is for the viewers.
For the viewers.
And if she barks, it's for the listeners. Okay, I'll be back.
I'll ask you about your pets. What pets do you have?
Okay. Well, me myself. Thanks for the question.
Yeah.
I have two. I actually have a few pets. So I have two dogs. One's a Labrador Kelpie cross named Fred. About 15 years old. Yeah, he's going strong for
Yeah.
15, and I also have a Sasha, obviously.
Sasha's my personal favourite.
She has a lot of fans.
she has a whole fan base going. She's the best.
Yeah, 10-year-old Ridgeback, Staffy, whatever else cross
Yeah.
from the dog pound. Also,
the rescue.
3 chickens, Felicia, Latte, and Daisy.
Rip.
Yeah, and Rip Sharon.
Rip
Yeah,
Sharon.
rest in peace to Sharon. And a solitary goldfish whose friends
Do
have
you?
died and
I
it's
didn't
living,
know.
but it's pretty sad.
And he's still alive.
Yeah, it's
And
really bad.
That is sad.
It's so lonely, but we don't want to keep the goldfish going, so...
You just...
Yeah, and why don't you tell me about, well, now Clover's in here, speaking of pets. Owen's doggo. Hopefully she doesn't knock over the,
the best.
yeah, knock over the,
Clover is actually probably one of my favourite dogs that exists.
Yeah, she's really
gonna
outgoing.
Sniff around for a little bit.
She can have a sniff. So that's your only pet?
That is my only
Yeah.
pet. Yeah.
And what about you?
I have a bitchy cat named Evie.
Clover.
After the Pokemon?
After the Pokemon, spelled the same. She hates me, but I love her.
Sit down.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
she's nippy. She's nippy today.
And that's all I have.
I'm not going to yell at her on camera.
Must not get angry on
It's,
camera.
yeah.
Come here.
I've always been a cat person.
Yeah.
Like I've grown up
doesn't
with
know.
cats, so I know how to interact with cats, and I find like a lot of people don't know how to interact with cats, so they hate them, but they're the best.
Yeah. They require sort of gentle
They're
approach.
so different
Subtle.
to dogs, and people like give them shit for that, but like they're so, I don't know, I think...
we could talk briefly about how I feel cats are characterised as like the femininity in like the pet kingdom, whereas dogs are the masculinity.
Yeah. That's
and the
really
loyalty.
interesting. I think of my cat as like super. I try and see her as feminine, but I think she's like a bit more masculine.
Yeah,
I
she's
don't know.
butch.
Yeah, she's a butch.
Yeah.
She's a butch lesbian.
Yeah.
I like to say. Yeah, that's really interesting, and people think. I don't know. Maybe it comes down to like people being like, you like cats, like, but dogs are like man's best friend.
Yeah.
Like people get shit for liking cats, but.
And cats have that sort of subtle way of relating and communicating versus doggos who are just what you see is what you get. Yeah.
Exactly.
What you see is what you get. Isn't that right, Clover?
Yeah.
She's
but yeah,
surprisingly
that's my
relaxed right
cat. I
now.
know,
Yeah.
it's so good. I'm gonna get distracted looking at it.
Get out.
Like, I'm sorry.
No, that's
Good
alright.
girl. Good girl.
Well, obviously, I have a few. You've got some questions there for Bridget, and as do I have some on my phone.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you get those up on the phone
Okay,
while I
nice.
ask away. Okay, here we go. We're going to Clover's making a move. So recently, well, actually, I don't know how recently. In July, a dog was put down after mauling a boy in a Melbourne backyard, and then I believe it was in July as well. Yeah. So a few days earlier in the same month, a
I heard
Melbourne
about
dog
this one.
attack left a man dead and a woman badly injured. The dog was believed to be an American Staffordshire Terrier. This is the one with the man and the woman both involved. Now,
She's a staffy, right?
right now, Staffies have are they
They're
misunderstood?
Misunderstood. I think a lot of
pit bulls.
bully breeds like the pit bulls, the bulldogs, staffies are like misunderstood to heck. I mean, they were bred, I think, to be kind of like guard dog kind of things.
I've heard that from pit bulls.
Yeah, from pit bulls, like those bigger kind of dogs. So of course they have tendencies that can come out when you treat them badly.
Yeah.
Basically,
Okay.
is what I like to think. Like, and of course, like people who own these breeds, like I don't know the story behind this, but
Well, basically, the dog went nuts. Is the word used in quotation marks? At a Mill Park home and attacked the man. And when the woman tried to step in, it attacked the woman.
Yeah.
Now, the woman ended up fine. However, the man unfortunately passed away in hospital. A neighbour said that there
That's
had
a
never
huge
been trouble with the animal before. It is crazy to think that a dog can
like kill.
snap like that and kill a grown
The
human.
thing, like I have no doubt that this dog would have been treated badly. Like
Yeah,
there's no
that's
way
sort of
that
the
it's
way
like
it
a
seems.
natural. Sorry.
It seems a bit shady.
Yeah, because like, I mean, dogs, like, I feel like there's a way to train dogs that is really popular, which is like the dominance kind of way. Like,
Yeah.
I'm your master. I need to like make myself the leader of the pack. Which, oh my god,
Definitely, that's what I've been familiar with my whole life. Like, that's how my dad's told me that's how you teach.
It's like not founded in science. It's all like, so there was a lot of, I was researching this today, so I knew what I was talking about. But I found this out last year at uni that it's a huge misconception that wolves even live in like a hierarchical thing where there's like an alpha.
Really?
Yeah, they live in so they live more in families. So they have like a mom and a dad. So they're like alphas.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's the best. It's like they have so they are alphas, like as in the sense that they're like above, like hierarchy. A leader, but they live with like their children. Like the way they interact with their subordinates is like a loving, caring
paternal
thing. Yeah, and aggression is actually super like not common in wolf packs.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like the way we train dogs, being like, I'm the alpha, I'm asserting myself on top. It's like super. First of all, like you can do it in other ways that are like way more effective, and it's like super damaging to the human-animal bond, which is like a huge thing. My favorite thing is the human-animal bond. Like I learn about it all the time.
So what is the human-animal bond?
It's kind of like it describes the relationship between like an owner and their pet, and it kind of comes about through short interactions like what we have with our pets, and it's like it's super. I know it's super important for their well-being, especially because like you're all they have, really, and it's quite sad.
Because like they're a part of our lives for 5 to 12 years, let's say, but we're a part of their lives for the whole thing. So it's like perspective.
And it's super.
We're everything to them.
Exactly. So like, it's
and such a level of subordination isn't seen like anywhere else in human relationships. Like they're like treated, they're 100% beholden to us. It's very interesting power dynamic. So no wonder they're like mentally very troubled sometimes.
So what I was trying to say about the dominance thing is like, so it's effective in the way like, I'm sure if you guys have trained your dogs using like dominance theory, it's like it works.
Yeah.
But it's not, the human-animal bond between you and your dog isn't like a loving thing. Like they're scared of you constantly. The reason why they obey is because they're terrified. You know, like because like they're scared that like you've been yelling at them. Like that's so terrifying for a dog, and they like are so prone to stress like from loud noises and stuff, and actually it leads to more outbreaks of like abnormal behavior because they are stressed, you know, like and it's not a thing where it's like, so like this dog for example would have been like probably aggressively like trained, and then a loud noise happened outside or something, and
we're
it
talking
triggered
about
the
dog that mauled the man and the woman.
So if he's learned to be scared of loud noises because he's been yelled at his whole life, like something could trigger him and he could get instantly aggressive, you know?
That's interesting because when I was chatting to Mum about this story, she's actually the one who brought it up with me. She'd heard that it was there was a storm.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the dog went crazy during the storm, and that's when it happened. Which explains why there was apparently there was no previous bad behaviour. On the dog's behalf, there could have been poor behaviour on the owner's behalf through punishment and dominance theory, and then that storm just
triggered him and he went crazy.
Which is really sad because now the dog's been put down.
Yeah, it's so sad. Like he could have been okay, but like he just was mentally ill, like literally mentally ill.
It's really sad.
Yeah. Well, as the article says, from what we're hearing, this dog didn't necessarily have a background of aggressive behaviour until this incident.
Well, it's like, it's interesting to think about like how we can just like fuck up our pets.
And they take the blame for it.
They take the blame, and it's like, and people don't realise, like, so it's like, our education is really bad with like telling. I feel like everyone should go through like a program before they own a pet. Because
that makes sense.
Like it's a child. It's like having a child.
120 hours to drive a car, which is arguably like almost. Well, it depends if how speciesist you are, but there's human lives at risk when you drive a car. There's animal lives at risk when you own an animal. Yeah. And we don't have to do shit. You can just get an animal.
I can go buy a pet. I can go buy a dog right now and like abuse the shit out of it. like, because I don't know how to treat it.
And that's exactly what I was going to get to with this story. I wanted to ask, do you think that before becoming an owner of a dog, should people have to get a permit?
Yeah,
Like,
I think
essentially a license to say that they can own it. And let's say maybe, okay, you're getting a Kelpie. It's like you get a specific license to own a Kelpie.
like it's like you get it for like a worker breed.
We want it to be living in a small flat in Richmond where you're never going to get it out to a big park.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you'd rather the Kelpie be somewhere where it's going to be walked every day, and because they need a run every day.
Yeah.
Same goes for dogs that may have aggressive tendencies. Make sure that the person who's getting that dog is actually well equipped to be able to train that dog properly and train it in a way that keeps those aggressive tendencies not like bottled up, but just trains them.
Trains them properly. I think that's like a great idea. This is why I love some adoption agencies. Like they put so much care into, like they'll go to your house before you can adopt, and they'll check it out, and they'll talk to you, and you'll have to have like a few interviews before you can adopt, which is like, it's like hard because it might put some people off from adopting, and it's like I can just go buy a dog from like the pet store, but
Which is so wrong.
I know, it's so wrong.
So wrong.
The dogs don't shop, like 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
But we need to be putting more thought into this because this is an animal that you have for like 12 years. You can't just go buy a dog and like...
It's a life.
It's
literally
it's
a
whole
life.
Yeah.
When you're lying in bed and you're having anxiety about something that happened during that day, your dog is in bed and could be having the exact same thought process about how they had a bad day. They think like us, they have that consciousness, right?
They have they don't have as complex emotions. Like we learnt about this once where it's like we also can't see them as humans in the sense that like what I was saying before, like they don't, so you know how, this is interesting, you know how sometimes like your dog will rip something up and then they'll act guilty? Like the guilt, they can't comprehend guilt, it's fear. Like so they're scared, like you'll be like, what did you do? And they'll act like, oh, like I'm sorry, and like try and like do, it's like they're scared. Like they don't have the ability to feel guilt or like regret. So every time, it's kind of a simple...
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
Regret nothing.
Yeah.
Best life.
Best life ever. The dog's life. Shout out to Dog Squad.
Literally. When we learn about animal behaviour, it's like a big thing is like the simplest explanation is probably the explanation. Like it's not like they have super complex thoughts that it's like they did this out of revenge, or like revenge. You know how people are like, oh, my cat pissed in my bed because I didn't feed it. It's like there's no such thing as like.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, because people think that and believe
Your cat pissed in your bed because you're an asshole.
Yeah, because you probably treated it like shit. Or it needed to go pee outside and it wasn't pissing in bed.
Do you think that animals potentially do some how would I describe it? Sort of like destructive acts or things that are known to upset the owner in order to get attention?
It's probably
if
to
they're
get
neglected.
attention. Like I feel like, I don't want to say anything that's not true.
Yeah.
But like, it would be to like get attention or like, there's more complex thought processes, like that's not it.
Yeah. but guilt isn't one of them.
No, guilt, like I think it's like it's like fear, stress, like contentment and happiness are kind of basically
the major
like a
ones,
lot of abnormal behaviours or like problem behaviours are because of like they're just anxious.
That's really interesting. I was talking to a guy at Finbar. Were you there when Finbar was talking about his greyhound? And we work with a guy called Finbar, and he has an adopted greyhound.
The best.
Yeah, so cute.
Good. I love greyhounds.
And he showed us the photos, and this dog is beautiful. So what happened was, one day it went into the next door neighbour's house and took the kittens from the next door neighbour's cat.
Oh
and
no.
It's not a horror story.
Oh.
It's not a horror story. It's so wholesome. It's so wholesome. Sorry.
I
unnecessary stress.
So
The kittens never showed up again. No, it took the kittens and started taking care of the kittens, like as its own.
So nice.
And then the cat came back and like took them back, or whatever. And then
give me back my kids.
Give me back, which is kind of fair.
Yeah.
The greyhound went back and took the kids back for a second time, right? And then
was this a lady greyhound, like a woman?
No, it's a male.
It's a male.
It's a male. Yeah, which is crazy.
Stay at home dad.
Literally smashing the norm.
So
Smashing those gender norms.
Finbar was like, okay, this isn't cool. Like, I can't just take the next door neighbour's kittens. So he picked up the kittens by the scruff with its mouth.
So nice.
Finbar went to pick up these kittens, and they like basically started crying and meowing, and then when he like put them back down next to his greyhound, they relaxed.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
They like imprinted on the greyhound.
Yeah. So what's going on there? Why is the greyhound wanting to take? Do you have any idea? Maybe.
I don't know. I thought if it was a woman. I keep saying woman. A female greyhound, it would be like it would make a bit more sense. But I literally don't know.
Wow.
I literally don't know.
It's just
okay.
scratching the
I
norms.
didn't know. Yeah, you've got some complex thoughts going on.
That's so interesting.
That's so
Obviously,
sweet.
didn't think
That's
that the
best
mama
story
cat was
ever.
doing a good job.
Yeah, just being like, and so he was just taking care of them. Like,
Yeah.
just like cuddling them.
Yeah, like would just like lie there curled up, and then the kittens would be like chilling.
Yeah.
Greyhounds are the best.
Wholesome.
Adopt a greyhound. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, that's like that's what I
The
want to do.
number one.
Adopt,
first
don't
go.
shop.
Yeah, adopt,
And
don't shop.
they don't need that much running. Apparently, they are so lazy.
Yeah.
You get them out once a day, and that's
You
it.
put them out, they go for a run, you bring them, and then they just sleep all. You can
On
have
the
them.
couch. They're
in a-
huge culprits
yeah,
for stealing couches.
And this is actually a big thing. People think that like, because I have a friend who has a greyhound and she lives in an apartment, and
Yeah.
like people think like that there's a correlation between like like animal stress and like how much space they have, which is like it's not really true. Like they've done experiments where they put them in like progressively bigger kind of rooms and stuff, and they live there, and like it doesn't really have anything to do with the stress. Like
That's
it's
interesting.
mostly to do with like the human interaction. Like that is like the number one thing.
Wow.
Of
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I read this. Like human interaction might be even better for dogs than like dog to dog, like co-specific
Really?
interaction. Yeah, and like
Wow.
I'm like, whoa, we're so like
We're so important.
we have, but also like we have so much responsibility over our pets. Like
It is, because
you
that's a
see
whole
your dog
life.
in the night. Like what if like you're working 9 till 5, you see them once a day, and you just
Yeah.
give them a pat? Like that's not enough.
That's been sucking. That's been me working with you. I get back home, it's dark, and I haven't been walking my dogs enough, and I'm like, now I have to do it. I feel
Yeah.
so bad now just talking
And
about it.
that's interesting, because like I know whenever I walk Clover, every couple of meters she'll like do like a little what's up, like how you going, sort of look back, and when she looks back I'm like good girl.
Because she loves it. Like it's so sweet.
That makes sense now, like she's
Yeah.
looking for that interaction
Yeah.
whilst we're walking.
It's so important.
Wow.
I had a question for you, which is one that the listeners might get a lot out of. Listeners and watchers might get a lot of. What are some common issues that domestic pets face, to your knowledge? What are some of the most common things that people can see in their dogs and cats and whatever they have?
I think a lot of it for dogs, like there's a lot of abnormal behaviours or like problematic behaviours, like jumping and stuff and like chewing, which is like they're all could be solved if you have. This is another thing about the license, like that we were talking about. Like
Yeah.
there's proper stuff, like you have to if your dog's outside all day and you're never seeing them, there's ways you can enrich the environment so that they're not like bored out of their mind. Like
Okay.
so like put like toys and stuff out there, like make it like so that they're stimulated, because especially worker breeds like kelpies and stuff.
The amount of holes she's done,
yeah,
which is obviously because she's
they're
not
bored.
stimulated.
Yeah, it's because they're bored, and like when they can't do like very highly motivated behaviors like digging and stuff like that, they start to like act out because they're really frustrated, because they're like, I really want to do this, but I'm in a concrete yard, I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll start going and exploring and tearing up shit. It's like because you haven't made the environment kind of like what they need.
They don't have an outlet.
Yeah, they don't have an outlet, and they could be so fine if you just give them like a toy or like a sandpit or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have dogs, but controversial. I don't have dogs. I'm not allowed. Anyway, what was I gonna say?
You don't have your dog permit.
I don't have a dog permit.
Apparently you were denied when you applied for a dog permit. That's what I heard.
Yeah, that's it.
They were like,
Tell
no, you just cover the microphone.
Oh yeah, let's cut this right
The
here.
actual reason is I have a cat, and like I feel like I would feel so guilty if I got a dog and it made my cat's life shit. Like I think about that.
That's a great little. That I now have a question.
Yeah.
Judy saying that, like, so do dogs? Is that? Let me take a second. Is it bad for us to get more than one pet, because then there'll be issues with one pet feeling like it's less loved or it receives less
Yeah, I get what you mean.
my words just aren't flowing today.
Like less,
Affection.
Yeah, I think you should always like, before you adopt a new dog or a cat, you should introduce them. Because like, I know my cat would just like, would never. Like
Yeah.
It's not so much the attention thing, like, especially with cats, they're really territorial, so like, putting a new cat into their space is like, can just put them, like, they could be stressed, like, their whole, like, constantly under stress because like, there's new smells and all that, so I think you should
introduce them prior.
Dogs probably are better, I don't know so much.
So like, it could go one of two ways, like, they could get along and then they have mates for life.
Yeah.
Or it could end up causing
like cats can go either way, like, some are just perfectly fine, some are like co-specific, like they have to live co-specific.
Those Burmese ones? No,
like it's just like random cats that like, I volunteer at Lotsmith Animal Hospital and they
so wholesome.
Yeah.
So wholesome. You're the most wholesome guest. You're the only guest.
The most wholesome guest
so you've got to be the most wholesome and also the least. You're probably going to be the most.
They have a lot of cats that like you have to adopt together because they like need to be together, and then there's some
not
cats
Burmese, I mean Siamese.
Oops. That's why Siamese twins, I guess.
I feel like I've seen Siamese cats that like are always together as well. I don't know what the deal is.
I just said Burmese before.
So sorry. We'll cut it out. Don't worry.
We'll edit that one out.
Sarah's got me covered.
Yeah, so I think it depends with that.
Yeah. Well, an interesting thing to think about if you are getting a second, third, fourth pet.
Think about
introduce
the animals that you already have. Don't just think about your little like, I want a kitten. It's like, no. Like, think about this cat that you could ruin their life. Like, literally ruin their life. Because they get so stressed.
It's crazy when you think about that. Like, you're ruining a life.
Yeah.
Like, you have a kid. It's essentially a kid. Right?
I think I'm a big advocate for, like, people get, like, are always saying to me, because my cat's a real bitch and, like, doesn't show me any love. And they're always like, that sucks. Like, you give it all, like, why do you love her so much? You give her so much love and she gives you nothing back. And I'm like, I have a pet to help the pet. It's not like, and then whatever I get from it is what I get. Like, I'm here, like,
You're in service.
I'm of service to my pet. Like, I think that's an important way to think about it, where it's like, no, I'm looking after this pet. This pet isn't here for my enjoyment. Like, just my enjoyment. Like, of course you enjoy your pets, but like...
You wouldn't have them if they didn't add anything to
Yeah, and they do, like, I still love my cat and she, like, gives me joy and stuff, but, like, I'm not here...
Sparks joy.
Yeah, she sparks joy. She's not, like, I don't know, she doesn't owe it to me to, like... I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and what about, and for cats, are there any behaviours that people can notice with cats that communicate anxieties or health issues?
I think with cats, when they're more unhealthy or whatever, like dogs will kind of make it known. Cats like just stay really quiet, and so that's why a lot of cat things, like once you take them to the vet, because you're like, oh, maybe you're sick, it's like, it's often really late and whatever's happened, you know, so it's so common to like be like, my cat's fine, take it to the vet and like have to put it down because like this problem has been here for so long. But they often, like if they're feeling sick, they'll go and be quiet and they'll run away. Like they'll stay, like they keep it very to themselves, like they don't really express
weaknesses.
Which is like interesting. Dogs probably do more.
Wow.
But just what else would they do? I think there's the whole issue about like cats like shitting and pissing inside, and people get really annoyed about it. It's often just because they like have been meowing to go outside and no one puts them outside. This is a controversial thing.
Here we go.
Where well, it's not super controversial, but it's controversial because I'm saying it because I let my cat go outside, but you really shouldn't. Like cats should really be indoors all the time.
Really?
I didn't know that.
For multiple reasons, because they're like they're so it's not so much for the cat, it's more for
they fuck shit up.
They've fucked up our whole ecosystem. Like
really?
Yeah, they kill so many small mammals, like they've kind of like there's such an issue. Like and this is why
in rural Australia I've heard
especially like stray
cats.
It's like really it's controversial because I'm saying it, I let my cat.
Well, I heard recently that the government was doing a massive amount, I don't know where it was, they were airdropping poisoned sausages all throughout, I think, New South Wales and Queensland, or perhaps South Australia.
Holy hell.
But
That's
apparently they're
super-
doing millions of sausages because the feral cats are that bad.
But like I've done things on that where they're like, we have to kill the feral dogs, but it's like the sausages is so not a good idea because I feel
About
like
everything else
other
that's going to
people
eat.
Exactly, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
as well.
and like if it's like strychnine, there's certain poisons that is like they've done research on it and it is like the most painful, slow, like a 24-hour death.
So not cool.
Yeah, and so it's like I agree with catcalling in the sense that it's like it'll save, and we just have to do it properly.
Right. Okay. I did not expect us to get onto catcalling in this
Yeah,
episode.
no,
This is
There's so much to talk about.
there's so much to
So
talk about.
Yeah.
much to talk
So
about.
you're for catcalling
Well, I'm for like
in the responsible.
a responsible cat,
as ethical as it can be.
as it can
Right.
be, like which is actually like a lot of people would be like, no, like they're here too. We put them here. Like
Yeah.
that's a big.
I guess it's not black and white, is
It's
it?
not black and white at all because
At all.
I agree with it's like yeah, it's our fault. Like we fucked it up.
Yeah.
Like we let our cats run wild and neuter your pets, everyone.
Yeah.
That's the reason why.
Yeah.
Especially your males. What was I saying?
We're the reason.
Yeah,
It's not black and white.
Yeah, it's not black and white, but you can definitely, we have to do it because like Australia is like a menace for endangered species. Like we have, I'm pretty sure we have the most endangered species.
We have the highest rate of
Yeah.
mammal extinction.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it's
Yeah, in the
because of
world.
cats and feral, like foxes and like cats, foxes,
Cane
and
toads.
cane toads. Fuck it up. And all the
but-
introduced stuff.
Yeah, were horses introduced? I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
So
they
there's
were
a
Brumbies,
lot.
yeah.
Do
Oh,
they
no.
have camels running around
Right.
in Australia?
And
I only knew that last year.
Started on Brumbies and how much they're fucking up the ecosystem.
And with the
and
Brumbies, it's mainly the foliage, isn't it? Because they
Yeah.
destroy everything with their
And
hooves.
their hooves, the amount.
Really?
I'm reading a book right now. It's called Dark Emu. It's not book club. It's on the side.
Okay, little side.
Yeah.
Good
It's
side
by
piece.
Bruce Pascoe. I'd recommend it to everyone. It's about This is a bit of a tangent, but it's about
Go for it.
about pre-white agriculture. So Aboriginal people, like everyone's like, oh, they're hunter-gatherers because we're taught wrong. Basically, they had fully agriculture, like they had agricultural processes that they like followed, and like the land used to be. There's so many anecdotes in it from like first settlers
Yeah.
who would come in and be like, the soil feels like ash, like my feet sink into like past my ankles because the way that the Aboriginal people like tended to the soil, they made it so light and so like, and it could grow like anything, and they put ash everywhere and they mix it up. I don't know. The
As
soil
a
used to be
fertilizer.
amazing. Yeah, it used to be amazingly like rich, and then all of our domestic animals came and have like fucked the land. Like
Whoa.
it makes me so sad to think about like
I had
'cause
no idea.
the hooves. Yeah, the hooves. Like they like have pounded the land in, and that's why like
wow.
yeah, and it's so sad because our country used to be like so rich and like of course it still is, but like
Yeah.
our grasslands are like wreaking.
Yeah, it's so sad. I imagine
That's
this
And
is
that's what
sad.
Brumbies. That's why I
Yeah.
said it because Brumbies are doing the same thing.
Do we need a reset button?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
And we need a huge reset button in Australia.
Reset.
Yeah. So like domestic animals have like really kind of ruined it.
Yeah,
Wow.
which is so sad.
It's really sad.
That
Yeah.
is upsetting.
It's
And-
irreconcilable. It's never going to be.
Yeah,
you can't
because
fix
like
it.
now, there's no way.
And
like,
and also our economy is completely dependent on
On
all
agriculture,
hooved animals.
yeah. there's no way.
Mm.
It's sad to
At
think
the moment,
about.
It just got really dark.
I know.
Wow.
Read the book though. It's a really good book.
Yeah,
It's
what-
like blowing my mind. It's called Dark Emu.
Dark
by
Emu
Bruce
by-
Pascoe.
Bruce Pascoe.
Yeah.
There you go. Dark Emu by Bruce Pascoe.
Book recommendation.
Have a read.
Gonna-
We love our book
Yeah.
recommendations here.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we do.
I was gonna choose it for book club, but then I didn't.
Ooh, how big is it?
It's a good size.
Girthy.
It's,
Girthy
no,
book.
like a good size for book club, like 300 pages. It's perfect. Anyway, I'm not choosing it.
Okay.
If you
Well,
could give me the most interesting thing that you've ever learnt whilst studying animal health, what would it be? The most, because you've already come through with some really interesting. I can't imagine how
Awesome.
much better it
Oh,
could
I've
get.
had some things where I'm
If you
like,
want to study animal health.
I find it really interesting learning about animal training.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I did psychology in year 12. Did you guys do it?
Yeah,
I did, yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Who didn't?
Yeah.
All the listeners have done it. You know, it's like
I read
positive
that.
reinforcement. negative reinforcement, positive punishment, and negative punishment.
Yep.
So a lot of us train our dogs using positive punishment, like hitting or like yelling, or negative reinforcement, so taking away something that, trying to remember what it is, taking away something that discourages behaviour or something. But those are the two ways that damage the human-animal bond, because they evoke fear and they make the animal really stressed out. So you should really only train your dogs through using positive reinforcement, so encouraging snacks, like so helpful, like,
and negative punishment.
So pretend your dog's jumping up on you, and it's so easy to like just push them down and like yell at them, but the best way to do it is to just turn away, just take, so you take away the thing that's encouraging the jumping, so you just turn away. And then of course, like, there's this thing called what's it called, excitement, it's a term where it's like, as soon as you start doing that, they're going to jump more. And so everyone's like, it doesn't work. Like, me yelling works so well. So it's like, they try really hard for a little bit, and then like the behaviour will extinguish after that. So like, that's the best way to train your pets. I found that really interesting.
So just to go over that again, for everyone listening and watching, the best way to train your pet, if it's doing an undesirable behaviour, is to just ignore the pet. And not cause any excitement.
It's like, take away the thing that's provoking that. So take away the attention that they're getting from jumping up. Because if you're jumping up and you yell at them, they're getting what they want. They're getting attention, and also...
So true.
It's like humans.
So true.
Yeah, and we also just pat them a lot. Like, I'm so guilty to this. When they jump up, I'm like, you shouldn't be jumping.
Yeah, Clover gets that all the time. She jumps up.
Bad. Yeah. So just like turn away. Or another interesting thing is like, we like to, if your dog does something bad, you put it outside.
Yeah.
They're not gonna, like, this is something they said, they don't have the capacity to associate, like, so if she, like, jumped up on the couch or something, she's not allowed, you picking her up and putting her outside is it's too far away from me, like the two acts are too far away in time for her to associate, I'm going outside because I jumped on the couch. Okay. So it's not effective in that way. So like, you have to, as soon as they do the behaviour, give the response. Like, it has to be like almost simultaneous.
So my next question is going to be, because I've seen, we had a dog before Clover, a Kelpie called Max, who was a bit of a wild card, and he weed on the carpet once, and Dad did the classic face in the wee. And I remember thinking like, that'll show him. He won't be weeing on the carpet again. That was brutal. I was even like, fuck, that's intense.
Yeah.
But after everything that you've said now, I'm sort of like, that definitely
It wouldn't help. I've never done it. I feel like, because they're not going to associate, like, so they peed on the floor like 10 minutes ago, and then you're like, and like you put it in, they just can't, they don't understand.
So what would be the best way to approach that? Like that specific scenario of the dog weeing inside, because I feel like that's a big issue for a lot of people, the indoor wee.
Well, at the end of the day, it's basically, because I guess the conditioning they're most susceptible is classical. I guess that's the idea, because like you're training them with like innate reactionary responses and a bit of operant conditioning as well. The psych 3-4, like, let's go.
Everyone knows what I'm saying.
But basically, well, as you said before about positive reinforcement, that's easy to train them to behaviours you want to encourage by giving them a snack, which is very easy to remember, sensory input, and they enjoy that. But I'm finding it hard to think of any other ways that we could teach them apart from snacks.
So maybe the best way, if that happens and like your dog wees on the carpet, would then be like, okay, that sucks, I have to clean it up now. But just persevere with giving the snacks when it wees outside.
Yeah, that's how you have to do it.
And it's like, okay, that's just part of having a dog.
It's
focus
like
on the positives.
Focus on the positives, because maybe in the carpet they're just not gonna, whatever you do, unless it's straight away, they're not gonna associate it.
I also heard another thing from a lady at a dog park once, and she was basically saying that, so Clover had run off, and I was trying to call her back because she was getting close to the road. And I was like, Clover, like I was yelling, I was using an aggressive tone to get her to come back, because I was like, that'll obviously work. And she was like, you shouldn't use an aggressive tone when you use her name, because she'll associate her name with her doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So then like when you talk to her and you go, hey Clover, like come over here, she's gonna have fear response to
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Does that have any standing, or is
Yeah, no, that sounds exactly right.
Yeah,
I think
I thought that was really
so,
interesting.
and then that's so damaging. Like now, whenever you say her name, she's like, "I'm scared of this person."
Yeah, like I'm in trouble, which
Yeah,
will
I'm in
make her
trouble.
more likely to act out and
Yeah.
not come running over.
Yeah, and be like, "I'm terrified." Yeah, I'm
It would
just.
be so much better for me to just give her a snack when she does come over.
Yeah, that's how you
Snacks.
have to do it. Snacks or pats. Like if your dogs are super like affection hungry,
Yeah.
like just pats whenever they're good.
Talking about pats, hygiene. People
Uh-huh.
who let dogs lick their face. What's the go?
Oh,
Is that disgusting, or is that?
I don't have a dog, so I wouldn't. But I feel like people who have dogs are more like, yeah, just. I would let my cat lick my
tongues
face.
are clean as.
I'm feeling I don't know what
You like
direction we're
doggy
going with
kisses?
this, but I'm saying I give Sasha probably a kiss once a day, like on the lips.
On the
Like,
snout, on the snoots.
And you haven't been sick in a long time.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
why.
I really like that.
That immune boost.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Give that shot.
you have daily, you don't take vitamins.
What's new in the bacteria world? Give me an update so I can't get got.
Literally.
But this virus
It's like working in a pharmacy.
Yeah, exactly.
Every day,
Yeah.
one snoop kiss. That's nice.
Maybe we'll replace the flu vax with this like snoot kiss
Yeah.
for everyone.
You go to a vet and kiss a dog. That dog has the best life ever.
That'll be $50. Well.
Then you have the
Yeah.
anti-dog
What-
kisses.
Do you have anything to say about that?
Not really. I think that's cute. I would because I don't have dogs, I get a bit grossed out by the smell.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
They are smelly.
They're stinky.
Yeah, I'm happy for Chloe to give me a few licks, but I don't like when she's like just sort of like focuses, like she'll just zone in on the cheek and be like, okay, I'm just gonna lick here for a bit. I'm like, no. Okay, a couple's cool, but stop.
I let my cat lick me. Whenever she licks me, I'm like, because apparently cats, when they lick you, it means they're trying to groom you.
Oh,
And it's like
that's
a
cute.
really, so if they lick you, they're like, I love you. I'm like, fuck yes. Like every lick, I'm like, I'm for it.
attention.
I'm like, I'm do it. Yeah. So I love a lick.
So that's just down to the owner, really.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
kisses
what
and
I'd
licks.
say.
Yeah.
Good question though.
What really worries me is that apparently dogs hate being hugged.
I was about to say that, and then I didn't want to bring it up
Chloe
because I
doesn't
thought
like
it was
it.
Yeah.
It's like they've done studies and they get really stressed out when they're hugged.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart.
Chloe hates it.
I don't want to hear it. I don't
Anything
wanna
more
hear
than
That's
like
my favourite.
just a hand.
Yeah.
Like if your like forearm or your chest is near her, she's like no.
Yeah.
Even when I lie down next to her, she'll like get up and move.
So sad.
One step ahead.
She's fighting that stress.
That is like something I didn't want to know.
Yeah.
Like when I read that, I was like, I didn't want to know that.
Yeah.
Everyone might.
Not enough people know that. So
Yeah,
people are out there giving dogs hugs.
I'll argue.
I
I'll argue that perhaps it might be up to the doggo because I
I
know
agree with
one
that.
dog. My friend Rory's dog. Our friend Rory's dog does not literally go like if you're sitting in the couch, literally jumps into your lap and like smashes into you
what
like
kind of
I want to
breed?
hug. Kelpie as well,
The best.
and also wild like
Kelpies are
crazy.
in tame.
If there's any, if anyone wants to prove like breed, like that there are some behavioural things attributed to breed, like Kelpies, I feel like they're all
definitely.
crazy.
It's because they're worker dogs, so they're
Yeah.
so intelligent. They just want to.
Yeah,
And
stuff.
they're so smart.
Yeah. My favorite
It's
thing
wild.
is seeing a sheepdog, like herding,
Flourish.
like doing their job because
Yeah.
they just love it. I'm
Well,
like,
apparently there's
I was
places
born
you can
literally
take.
born to
yeah,
do
literally.
this.
There's places you can take your dog to go and herd
Yeah.
sheep.
Oh, the best.
Like,
Yeah.
and you just like you go to this property and you just let the dog go, and
They
because
love
they're like bred to do it,
Yeah.
they'll just start doing it automatically.
So good.
How cute is that?
It's so cute.
Yeah, Rory's dog's done that as well.
That's
And
who I was
apparently
talking to
love
about it. It was
yeah.
you. Yeah.
And apparently they really like it.
I'm gonna check that out and I'll have a chat about it on the
See if you
podcast.
Yeah,
can get Chloe,
check it
go
out.
and get Chloe to do it.
Get her out
She
there.
would love that.
Well, I know that she tries to like. You can see her sort of herding the smaller dogs sometimes.
Yeah.
She'll run around the outskirts of the dog group at the
So
park and like
cute.
see what's going on, and then get down and be
So
like,
cute.
Suss it out.
yeah, on the hunt. I had another question and it's completely gone. Yes, favorite dog breed.
Ooh. I love Australian Shepherds.
Mhm.
Have you seen them? They are the most beautiful dog you've ever
Will I
seen.
get a photo for you?
Yeah, get that up.
They are so and I love all like Kelpies. Might be my favorite.
They're very outgoing
They
and
are
good
the
to talk
best.
to.
Yeah, good to talk talk. I also love staffies. I love greyhounds.
So I feel like staffies have the most like beautiful faces.
Yeah,
They
like
have,
those froggy.
big ass, big jaw and cheekbones. Australian Shepherds, so they're like really, they've got long coats.
They've got long. Look how beautiful they are.
Wow.
The viewers don't. Actually, no one can see. Just us. But we're liking it.
An Australian Shepherd.
Chuck it in on the side, like.
Now, the mini, is that bred, like, is that
Mini Australian
Bred
Shepherds.
to be small.
Probably.
bred to be small?
Yeah.
Which is a little bit, we don't like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with pure breeding. I was going to talk about that.
Yeah,
Can we
please.
talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
Let me take these
'Cause I was
distracting
trying to look
photos
up-
off the
I know,
screen.
There's a, I didn't even realise it until the past few years or so maybe, but there's a I feel like so many people I know have pure, like just in general whenever I see dogs out, everyone has pure breeds. Like everyone has
Yeah.
pure breeds. And what defines a pure breed? Can you tell me?
It would just. I think that there actually are certificates and stuff that that you get for like your purebred. I think it's. I might be making this up, but for some reason I think it's like you have to go back like 3 or 4 generations, and if it's the same breed, might be making that
But
up.
don't purebreds have so many problems?
Yeah, so many problems. I mean, it depends. Like
Like the
this,
Labradors?
Oh, Labrador. I get so sad thinking about purebred.
So would so a purebred, for example, a King Charles Cavalier wouldn't be a purebred, or would be?
No, I would. I think it's
But I
just.
thought it's a King Charles Spaniel and then a Cavalier.
I
or something
think
like that.
now it would be considered its own breed.
Yeah.
Kind of
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
Um,
So we have purebreds who are
There's a
like
lot of them.
natural purebreds. Is there such thing as a natural purebred dog that's just like still the same dog that it was several generations back without human intervention? Or are all dogs essentially...
I think at this point we're like we are the artificial like we're doing it. Like the dogs
Okay.
don't just really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So you could
Like
have...
mutts are the only things that aren't, I'd imagine. Anything that doesn't, or mutts,
you can have like mixed
or
breeds.
mixed breeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I read a really interesting fact today because I was trying to find the most healthy purebred. A lot of them were saying like Chihuahuas are really healthy,
Wow,
and I was
really?
like, I was astounded.
It's so annoying.
They're so the worst. My therapist
And
was
Pomeranians.
The war against small dogs.
Yeah, I'm waging it, honestly.
I'm
And
watching it
against
too, but
purebreds.
silently in my mind because I'm like,
Oh, my
keep it
friends
quiet.
have so many people with small dogs.
Yeah, but I apparently, so purebreds have lots of disease, like 2.6 times more likely to have a
Oh.
genetic disease than like a mixed breed, but a mixed
sucks a
breed dog is 1.4 times more likely to be a carrier of a genetic thing than a purebred,
Yeah.
which is really interesting because
interesting.
people think mixed breeds are like, she's like half Dalmatian, half like whatever, she's healthier, but it's like there's still issues like
Yeah.
now, which
You've
is
sort of got the
interesting.
worst of both breeds, and it's
Yeah,
carrying that
yeah.
without showing any symptoms. That's interesting, and like, I feel like the whole idea of getting a purebred dog just for aesthetics, it's so like,
Oh,
it's
so
wrong, and it's
selfish.
just like,
It's so
what
immoral.
what the fuck are you doing? Like
So immoral.
these
No
dogs,
offense, but like
they're
anyone who
just
owns a
living.
fucking French bulldog, like, get fucked. Sorry.
they're the
like,
ones with the, like
you're
the,
spending $4,000 on a purebred.
they're not attractive
doggy.
dogs.
Yeah, like I feel really bad for them. I try not to demonize the actual dog because
Yeah,
they
exactly.
push themselves into existence.
Isn't it just hard not to?
Yeah,
sometimes
you're
to
like
project it onto
yeah,
the dog,
and
like
you're like you shouldn't exist. I think that every time I see like a fucking.
And they have breathing problems.
Yeah.
That would be so uncomfortable
Yeah.
for the
See them
duration of
running
their
around.
life.
Yeah, and it's like sausage dogs. They have really bad back problems. Like they can break their backs really easily because they're
That
like.
sucks.
Yeah, and then you think about like it's a wolf, and look what it is now.
what have you done to
Yeah,
this?
what have you done?
Yeah.
You're the worst. Humans the worst.
Yeah.
And it's so like it's just purely, I've
Aesthetics.
only got this dog to show off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they become status
It's like a
symbols.
huge class
What the
thing.
fuck?
Yeah,
too.
commodification and consumption of them
Yeah.
as luxury items is so far.
It's ridiculous. And when you think about it, it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's so. It's,
And a lot of them come from
mind-blowing,
like
what are you
puppy
doing?
farms and stuff. It's like just go to Lord Smith Animal Hospital
Yeah.
in
Shout out,
Melbourne,
yeah.
and adopt a dog.
Come
Or-
see Bridget and
Yeah,
she'll
I'll be there. Help
I
out.
know we got, and people are always worried about getting dogs, like adopting dogs. I swear it's not as bad as
Oh, it's not
like
like
people perceive it to be.
people get worried that they'll come in and like fuck, like they'll have.
issues. Like it's too
Issues.
late.
But you know what? You meet a dog at the shelter, it's like gonna be 10 times more stressed at the shelter than it is at your house.
Yeah.
So like if you meet a dog at a shelter and he's like nice and chill and happy, like imagine how good they'll be at home.
Yeah.
And like that's also a thing, like dogs can hate their lives at the shelter and never get adopted because they're like really nervous, but like as soon as they get put in a house, it's gone. Because shelters are really like really damaging places for dogs, but it's like so hard because it's hard to not.
I know that we got a Clover off it wasn't from a shelter, but it was from it was an add-on gum tree, and someone had just said it was on a farm and their Kelpie had like heaps of puppies, and they were just like, does anyone want a puppy? And we drove up, checked it out, and
For free?
no, we bought.
Okay.
We bought, yeah, but I'm pretty sure it was cheap as.
Yeah.
And then when we brought her back here, we like did all the like get her tagged and that sort of stuff and desexed. But yeah, so that's another way you can adopt a dog.
Yeah,
but like go and
like
make sure that it's not a low-key puppy farm.
Yeah, you have
That
to
was
make
the
sure
one
that
thing
they're
we were
like,
like, ooh.
Yeah.
just never puppy farm. So sad.
I don't know, I might be completely wrong, but I thought there was going to be they had made like pet stores illegal or something in Victoria.
I
heard
heard
something
something.
like that.
They haven't.
Yeah, I think there is something like there has been like new laws about puppy farms and like
So
pet.
sad.
Maybe it's puppy farms that are illegal.
Yeah, I think it
don't
might
know how it
be.
works.
I don't know either, but I know what you're trying to say, but I don't know the exact thing. We'll fact check that.
Yeah.
Put it in the bio.
Yeah.
We've spoken a lot about cats and dogs. What are your thoughts on other random animals like turtles and fish? And
I would love to have a
guinea
snake.
pigs?
I had a dream I had a snake last night, and it was the best. Like I've been getting into thinking of having a snake.
A slippery snake.
Would be amazing.
What if,
Like,
as you said about animals and the sizes not mattering so much, what about birds in cages?
Ooh.
I think the size does matter with birds. Birds, I have a huge. We used to have birds, and like I was a kid, so I was like, oh, fun. But then I think like this is the shittest life for a bird.
Well, their primary mode of transportation of movement is to fly, and then you put them in a cage where they can't fly.
Big. It's like they just sit. They would be so sad.
It's like making us crawl everywhere.
Well, could you take us through the five? What is it? The five? Or what are the main tenets of like the animal rights that they need to be able to do? Because one of them is the freedom to exhibit normal behaviour.
Yeah, I was about to say that's the one I know.
And I'd imagine that not being able to fly wouldn't be normal behaviour.
Freedom to express normal behaviour. Oh, I wish I'd looked this up.
I could pull it up.
Pull it up.
Yeah.
Because this is a huge thing. I'm doing a whole subject on animal
What were
welfare
they?
next.
Animal rights. I think key
it's
animal rights, whatever.
It's like 5 criteria for
Fine, I'll just type it in and see what happens.
And that links back into like enriching your animal's environment, because like if your dog is a worker breed and he's sitting in a backyard with nothing to do, like that would be
He's not working.
He's not working. He's not able to exhibit normal behaviour. So that's.
Here we go. So it is the freedom from hunger and thirst, freedom from discomfort, freedom from pain, injury or disease, freedom to express normal behaviour, freedom from fear and distress.
Yeah.
So after reading that, like so many of those are breached.
No animals have rights anywhere.
The first one I think of is freedom from pain, injury or disease. Purebred dogs are literally
It's like
living in pain.
It's a breach of animal welfare by them existing.
And you know that they're going to have disease. Like it's a known fact that certain purebred dogs, it's like, okay, I'm getting this dog and it will die of this in 12 years.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what's going to happen.
And it'll get like cataracts, like it'll like get stomach cancer or whatever. Like it's like
It's like that's known. Like you know that's going to happen, and then you bring it into the world and you start. And then
freedom from fear and distress.
We use that to train them.
Yeah, literally.
There's so much stuff about animal welfare. It's like
shit.
I'm doing a whole subject on it next semester. Well, not next semester, but next semester.
Yeah.
I'll come on after that again.
Yes, do.
Please do.
It's good
Follow
stuff.
up.
And then this sort of ties into, so you're both vegans.
Yeah, I'm vego vegan.
Yeah.
You're on the
right.
cusp.
Yeah.
Doing your bit.
Yeah, doing my bit.
Every little bit.
We're all doing our bit.
Yeah.
I'm guilty. Basically, all I'm guilty of is cheese on occasion.
Well, it's better than me because I'm still in the pescatarian stage myself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a process.
It is a
because this is
process.
why I'm studying animal health and well-being, and I cannot like eat meat.
That's what I feel like. And even sitting here now, I'm just thinking like, yes.
Yeah.
Like that's the main reason why I stopped eating fish are animals, but I went pescatarian, so it's just like it felt like the right thing to do, and now I would love to actually move into getting rid of fish, because I've spoken to you a lot about it, how like at first I was like, oh, it's cool, it's just fish, but fish are actually sentient beings, and it's not,
And even like just like if you don't even put in the welfare part, it's like environmentally, like we overfish so much. That's what I think about every time. I'm like,
such a huge part.
Fish is like they don't have some fish like mussels don't have like they're fine to, or something.
Yeah,
like,
because they don't have like brains or anything.
But it's like it's still impactful. Like the way they farm, all that is still impactful to the
Bottom-up effects on the trophic system.
Responsible fishing.
Yeah,
needs to be looked, and not just like whacking it on the side of a tin.
Yeah,
tuna,
like it is.
A subject I did at uni did talk towards the end of it, the subject about alternatives to meeting the world's meat consumption quota, because it's not literally like via economic forecasting, it's not going to be possible by 2050 to feed the world. So I think it's going to be 10 billion people by 2050. It's literally not possible via land meat. So they're thinking aquaculture is like the term they're using. So like, can we set up huge fish farms?
Yeah. There's like issues with that as well.
Yeah, there's issues with that.
There's always going to be like this is a thing. There's never going to be a thing, but it's like this is completely okay.
And there'll always be like something wrong with the next advancement. And because there's nothing else wrong with it, that will be focused on, and that will be the major threat.
Exactly. I'm almost, this is controversial, but I have a thought that I would not want to bring my animal to a vet who wasn't at least a vegetarian. That's like I look at the vets that are eating meat at work, at Lord Smith.
Are there many?
There's not many. There's there's a lot of vegans and vegetarians there, but I see it, I'm like, how can you be so detached from what you're doing?
Yeah.
Like it's a complete detachment. Like we're so like, oh my little dog, like I love it, and then like you're gonna go like support that. And it's like, how can you
go and eat a cow?
How can you like be detached? Like, I don't know. It's just like I can't believe it.
And Curtis, you were saying to me the other day that pigs have the. You'll have to finish this quote for me because I've forgotten.
Yeah. So after our Ethiopian feast, when we were on it driving around, we were talking about the ethics of animal consumption, and apparently pigs have the IQ of a 2-year-old toddler, so they can do some pretty like advanced
and like
cognitive
even the
tasks.
emotional intelligence of like a 2-year-old, like it's not just like they're clever. It's like they feel like grief. Like there's a whole thing about like pigs grieving when they kill their babies. Like they're super maternal. There's so much. I don't know. There's so much. I feel like veganism is like. Like sustainable agriculture is like a whole nother podcast.
It's definitely a whole other podcast, and it's a nice one to get into because I know a lot of people don't.
Shout out to Erin Coyle. She would talk to you about sustainable agriculture.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my class, like I've been talking a lot about dogs and cats, but like that's probably like 30%. We focus like 70% on.
There's so many other species out there.
Like domestic agricultural animals, which is like.
So is the way forward bugs? I know that's picking up a lot of steam. I just had to throw that out there.
I would, if it's sustainable.
Yeah.
And they do it.
Crickets.
Right. Or just plant-based.
Just plant-based diet.
Here's a question. You know how they've started making meats in labs and like fully doing it in the lab. There's no animal involved. Would you eat it?
If it was, and is that when it's grown from
like cells?
Like they grow it from like. A sample taken from a live animal and they grow it. Yeah, I reckon I would eat it personally as long as it's sort of like a strange criteria for me. But if the original animal wasn't killed in the process, because that's like the impetus for all the production. So if something still died, then it wouldn't make sense. It's still like you still.
So would you eat it if, say, we got to the stage where, in order to get this cell, we needed to. One animal had to die. Would you eat the lab meat then if that meant that instead of 1 million cattle being killed to feed so many people, one cattle was killed to feed so many people?
And then you can keep spreading
copies of that.
Yeah.
I think I personally just wouldn't eat it anyway. But if that was the alternative for all the people who are already eating meat, then in my opinion it has to be better.
Yeah.
As long as the energy costs are considerably lesser than actually growing it. That's what it's all about.
That's one of the big things.
Mm.
There's a big thing, and I read it the other day about like almond milk is better than dairy milk to produce and for guilt-free reasons as well. However, it's not sustainable. So
Uses
like
so much
it's
water.
just a matter of time until like let's say we finish up with dairy and we get rid of it and we're like, okay, cool, I'll turn this, and then the war just turns straight to almond milk.
It's like there's no perfect thing.
Yeah, like what?
And like
what
soy
are we
milk.
gonna
Oh
do?
my god, there's a whole big thing about soy like milk, and it has like phytoestrogens, which are like they mimic estrogen. So when you have soy farms and the runoff goes into the ocean, there's been a lot of research into the fish getting fucked up because it's like hormones.
We can't win.
We cannot win.
You know what the problem is? There's too many humans on Earth.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
We need a
The bottom
purge. Big old purge. We'll do it.
Oh, okay. Well, now we're getting really into some crazy topics.
Yeah. Well, there's too many humans on Earth, and arguably there's too many humans on Earth who aren't eating with environmentally conscious motives.
Yeah.
I'd argue, like, if everyone, apparently if everyone, well, if animal agriculture accounts for roughly like a third of greenhouse gas emissions. So if they weren't there, if those animals were basically deleted, then climate change, 1/3 is removed.
Which is huge.
And it's also
That's
problematic
massive.
because it's like we're coming from a privileged place where we can be like, I can be vegan. And
Yeah.
I have the choice to be vegan. I live in this
I can buy my vegan chocolate and my dairy-free.
And it's like, of course, like, it's education, like, but people just literally don't have the option.
But I'd imagine people who are very, very poor, a lot of them don't afford meat.
It's cheaper to be
Yeah.
vegan.
Yeah.
Well, I was at the supermarket today and I bought my like my lentils and chickpeas and like I did my big bean in my bean shop and everything was like 90 cents per can.
Yeah.
It's crazy cheap.
It is cheaper to be vegan. I think there's been.
It's just not cheaper when you start looking at all the fancy.
When you
vegan
look at the
products.
brand
When
and
you
stuff.
when you start doing like meat substitutes, that's when it starts.
That's when it gets
If you
expensive,
just
but there's no need
keep-
for the meat substitute unless you want to put your money towards that.
Yeah.
Go for it.
But it's all about education, I think. Like
Yeah.
we are also educated. We come from this.
We just need to learn to coexist with animals and plants. So basically, Earth in general is a whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Stop
we need to
taking
figure out, like, it's never
yourself.
going to be perfect, but if we can do it better than we're doing now, in
We can
terms
do
of
it so much damn better.
living with our pet, we can do it so much better. Yeah.
I'd actually like to talk about like veganism and like the agriculture on a new.
That's a whole new, that's
like,
I
it's
reckon we
a
need
new-
to move away.
Yeah, I know. We've just opened a big can of worms.
Yeah, as you said, there's a lot of, I think, what I think is required is a huge change in attitudes regarding the environment in general, because I feel like there's a lot of just like, fucking, because you know how obviously there's been huge populist backlash to all like the protests and all the Extinction Rebellion protests and the ones that we went to, all this stuff about like hippies and shit trying to stop the economy and stuff. There's a real us and them mentality. Environmental issues have become political issues. They're politicizing it, trying to like make it like everyone has to argue about it when it's all.
There's
all
always
us
going to
on-
be like a backlash because people
Yeah.
are like, no, my way of life. Like, you're
And
right.
as you were saying before, it's like you're almost like you were saying how like you tell someone that you don't eat meat and you're a vegan, or you have a certain ideology when it comes to what you eat and how you live, and immediately that other person is going to feel attacked because they're thinking, oh, this person's vegan because they think they're better than me because they're more,
and it's like
their ideologies are better than mine, and then you immediately feel guilty, so that comes out as defense, and you're like, oh, you're just a stupid vegan.
Yeah.
And it's so easy
For
to.
sure.
It's so much easier to attack than to like actually critically think about your own actions.
Yeah, like it would be really cool to see more people just do a week of going vegetarian.
Challenge. You guys? Oh no, you're both
Well,
vegan.
I'm not vegan, so I
You
can do
can
that.
do that.
Let's
It's a
actually,
challenge.
and I'm shit. I'm a really
Okay,
bad.
so how about you could eat meat for a week and I'll go vegan for a
Carnivore
week.
diet?
Yeah.
Have you seen that shit?
What?
Carnivore diet is literally a thing at the moment.
Only you don't get any
Where the
plants
fuck
or
do
any.
you get your life?
Yeah. Where's the
And
fibre?
like your shit would be like.
You're not going toilet.
Like, yeah, you're not shitting. That's a good challenge for.
Oh, actually, I have looping us back into pet health.
Yeah, we should do that.
Putting your pets onto a vegan diet.
Ooh, yeah.
What's can you tell us anything about that?
You can't do it for cats, and
Okay.
people do it for cats, and cats are how can I say that? Obligatory carnivores.
Okay.
So they have to eat meat.
Yeah.
Like they have to get like the amino acids they can't get from anywhere else. So
Right.
it's like, don't do it on your cats. Dogs can be vegan.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah, like they can, and they can live a happy, healthy life. But the thing is, I think you really need to research it because you don't want like any sort of like malnutrition.
So
like,
different
just because
species could potentially, it could work for different species and not work for other species, or is that a myth?
I think dogs can, cats can't. I don't know about anything else, but I think you can do it for your dogs. I wouldn't, because like I was saying, like I'm here to serve my dog. Like I know it's like I'm a vegan but that's like kind of where I draw the line. And I'm like, I don't want to dogs love me. Like they fucking love. I don't want to like deny you of like a pure pleasure when you're like, I don't know,
chowing down.
I'm sure they would love like foliage as well, but I wouldn't. But you can, and they can be healthy. But
And perhaps a dog that's fed at least, a vegetarian to vegan diet, those diets might actually have more micronutrient consideration than what we feed them pedigree and apparently all that stuff. Apparently hearing from my uncle, who might be biased, working in marketing at Royal Canin, which is like a bougie, it's a bougie dog food company. But apparently, what we get off from Coles and stuff, apparently there's like knackers for a dog every day. It's like eating
someone
knackers.
told me that the exact same thing. I feed my cat Whiskers because I'm a shit cunt. But that is literally like knackers for a cat. It's so bad for them.
Fuck.
And it leads to renal failure. Like there's all this stuff about treating.
And that sucks because then how are the people who maybe aren't very affluent and aren't very wealthy but really love their animal, but they just can't go out and afford the really good stuff?
But what you could do is buy I don't know if it'd be cheaper, but just even with your dog, feed them that and mix in some rice or some.
Ooh, yeah.
I really don't know much about this.
Well, that's what Mum does.
Yeah, I was about to say, most wholesome dog owner ever.
Yeah,
best woman on earth.
Well, Mum, if we've run out of stuff, we use the cans and pedigree.
Yeah.
Usually what we do, Mum once a week gets the pressure Mum once a week gets the pressure cooker, chucks in the frozen mixed veg, rice, and then this mince you get from the butcher that's really shit quality meat.
Yeah.
And just puts that all in, pressure cooks it, and then that's their wet food, and then we put in dry food on top of that.
So good.
So they actually do get some vegetables.
No wonder they're so happy all the time. Their microbiome is
Actually, you know what? We should have a whole podcast.
They don't smell that bad. It's
That's
what
really
I think, and we very rarely wash them.
Yeah.
They don't stink.
That's good.
So let's go over that one more time. Frozen veggies, rice, and offcuts, is it?
Yeah,
shit
cuts. What my mum does is goes to the butcher and she's just what have you got?
Yeah.
Sells me for real cheaps for the dogs. So that's what she does.
Right, and then she puts that all into a
pressure cooker and does that for an hour. Cooks it outside because the smell is interesting.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and that's what she does.
So if anyone's interested in trying that, there's a cheeky little recipe.
Getting some veggies and some grains into your cattle dog's diet.
Their shit smells so much better.
Well, now that I think of it, I'm
super
super into looking into what I'm putting into my body, what vitamins am I getting.
Yeah.
That's really the micronutrients. I've never once looked at the back of Clover's dog food and go, what's Clover getting?
Is he getting all the essential?
Is she getting an A, B, C, D, and E?
I mean, they try and do it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
See, and I feed my cat Whiskers. So it's we say all this shit, but it's hard.
And dogs are on their feet. Well, I know that Clover's on her feet all day, and I know that if I was on my feet all day, I get home and I'm I need to feed myself, I need to fuel myself. I've been exercising all day.
Yeah.
And it's Clover, quick scoop of dry food.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Or if you are,
Do you know you think about
you're
it?
what a pig.
You'll fucking cry, and you're you just want more food. It's
but you know what? Clover loves an almond. She loves almonds.
It's a cheeky
when
almond.
you're snacking on them and she'll come and you're
please give me an almond.
Maybe even once she picks it up in her mouth and she'll run off somewhere else, sit down and then just be bite through it.
So cute.
The one, gotta make your shot count. Yeah. Well, it seems recently over the past I don't know, maybe half a century, but how we perceive our role as caretakers of animals has changed so much. Like, we're talking about the micronutrient content of our dog's food. When back in the day, it's like, dogs, go outside, get your dog food, give them a smack, so they behave.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, I feel like...
Throw a dog a bone.
We're coming more around. We're getting better.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Which is awesome.
It's so good.
And I feel like it's like that for a lot of issues, to go on another tangent. Like, people are getting way more.
Gen Z, we're making it.
We're exploring. We're doing a lot more exploring into these topical issues.
Yeah.
Pet health.
Yeah, pet health.
This has been so much fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
This is a good
I'm racking my brain for more that I can ask you while we're still
How
here.
long has it been?
It's been a
God,
while.
I don't know. I don't even want to know.
It's too long.
Sam's sitting in the back.
This is
hurry up.
the alleged 3-hour episode that's been talked about.
Well, you were asking for long episodes.
Yeah,
Be careful
And
what
now
you
you
wish for.
make
And now I'm on one.
Now you can go back and listen to your own voice for 3 hours.
Oh, horrendous. I won't be. I really won't be. But yeah.
Should we move through to the segments that we do?
Yeah, let's
I
move
think
through
we
the
should,
segments.
but
Okay.
yeah.
For anyone who's still listening,
If you've made it this far,
Yeah.
we'll have
really,
timestamps on it so
I'm
people can
really
just skip
impressed.
through.
Yeah. We actually could do that for YouTube.
Timestamps,
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
so people can flick through it.
Yeah.
Anyway, our segments are, so we start with our peeve/grateful moments of the
Yeah,
week.
peeve/grateful moment.
I was
Let's
saying
go.
I love the grateful.
Let's give it to the guest to take it away.
Yeah, I was listening to the podcast while this peeve happened, and that's why I
Ooh.
thought of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of small, but my pet peeve is when, you know how there's like a fast lane on an escalator, and there's like everyone stands on the left, and then there's that fast lane that you're like smashing through when you have to get to work.
Yeah.
When people stand
In the right side.
on the right side of the escalator
And they don't. Yeah.
and they don't move,
It's horrible.
and I've got 5 minutes to get to work, and we're all standing there.
Is this at
This is at
Southern
Southern
Cross?
Cross, getting out from the platform, everyone's like ready to go. Yeah, that's my pet peeve.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it deeply, obviously. I think it's also the responsibility of the person who's like standing behind that person to
To
be
hurry
like,
them along a bit.
I'm sorry, I need to go.
Yeah, please get out of my way.
It could be it could be a solved issue.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my pet peeve.
It could be nice. And do you have should we go around and do pet peeve and grateful moment, or pet peeves and then grateful
I
moments?
can do them both.
Do them
Is-
both.
What are you grateful for this week?
This week. It's been a good week. I actually, you know what? Last night I went to a house party that I wasn't really invited to. You know, I just kind of like turned up, and I was like,
Who is
In with the cool crowd.
Yeah. And I was thinking about like the host kind of like was like, hi, like what's your name, blah blah, blah, and like instantly just got me a drink. Like instantly was so kind,
Wow.
and I was thinking like, I'm grateful for like the kindness of strangers. Like I was like, that has inspired me to be like kinder to like just random like you could have been like, why the fuck you at my house? Like I was like, I was like, oh, this is so wholesome. I really like that.
That is very wholesome and grateful.
Yeah, I was like, the kindness of strangers and like just being kind to like common humanity is like, the best. I'm grateful for that.
Yes. Curtis?
Wow. My peeve of the week, I've been put on the spot here, that's for sure. Obviously. My pet peeve of the week is when you get a hot chocolate from McDonald's and it's not even that chocolatey. Like it's
Don't
actually
like that.
it tastes like hot
We don't
milk.
like that.
Well, we got done dirty.
We did.
Flipped to the Macca's drive-thru and it was actually like hot soy milk.
It was, and let's quickly rant on the Maccas that served it to us.
Which one?
Which one was it? It was Epping McDonald's.
The shittest.
Done us so dirty.
So shit. Then we went there the next day and asked for extra hot chocolate, which is a Macca's hack. Doesn't cost anything.
Like an extra hot one?
Extra drinking chocolate.
Put more in. It costs
It
nothing.
didn't cost anything.
That is a hack.
So you just strong.
Oh.
I knew it. Oh, that was
That's
chocolatey.
good.
You know what's a good hack? Like a soy chai latte from Macca's. Oh, the best.
They did those.
Okay.
Oh, they're so good.
I'm interested.
I'm intrigued.
And what I'm grateful for this week, go on.
You're also great. I was gonna say.
And I'm grateful for
For
the
the free drinking
extra
chocolate.
chocolate. And what I'm grateful for this week is that I've been reflecting on is the community participation in the podcast. Firstly, Big Z, and secondly, the lovely message we received from Eliza following up on the how we did the mental health episode. Thank you so much to both of you guys and all the other people who've been coming up to us with advice. How many people came up to us last night talking about the podcast?
It was really cool.
It was cool.
Yeah, so grateful for that.
Up.
Yeah,
Constantly grateful for that.
Yeah, so I'm grateful for everyone that's getting around the podcast.
Sweet.
And you?
Grateful for Sam.
Yeah, grateful for Sam.
Sam's been sitting in this whole podcast.
That's so bad. I should be
so
grateful.
sad.
I'm grateful for you as well, Sam, obviously.
So sorry.
Well, my pet peeve for the week is when you buy a coffee and someone says, no worries, like the person doing your coffee, usually a male barista, will use a condescending term like champ or buddy.
Oh.
And you know that it's being used in a condescending way. You know when you can just hear that?
I don't know, I've never...
That's my
Maybe
biggest
it's a
peeve.
man-on-man thing,
I
where
think
you're
it
like,
could be.
don't call me buddy.
It's
When
like-
someone says mate to me, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck yeah. Wow.
No, yeah, it's just like walked up.
Yeah,
Hey,
I know what it means.
what do you want, buddy? I was like,
Nothing.
to be treated like you're equal.
Straight out.
To be spoken to as a man.
Spoken to as a grown adult,
I've
mate.
never thought of that.
Yeah.
If
and
someone said
that
champ
really
to me, I'd be like,
that peeves me off so much.
wow.
Like just being called, not even just when I'm getting my coffee,
Buddy or
but like
champ.
just buddy or champ or muscles or big guy or like.
Squirt.
Big
All
guy squirt. If someone said squirt to me, I'd
And it is good to be able to be
Love it.
called that and just brush it off and be like, whatever, it doesn't really matter what people say. But it peeved me when this guy said, I was like, fuck you, man.
Baristas, man, I swear. What are you grateful for?
What am I
this week?
grateful for? Well, actually, I'm really grateful that we were able to experience an Ethiopian cuisine, and I'm grateful that the family who run that, I had a little read on the website, were able to come into this country and start up their business, which, by the looks of it, is so successful.
So
It was packed in there, and they weren't even charging an outrageous price
Yeah.
for anything. It was like such a standard meal to buy in Northcote. So I'm grateful that they had the opportunity to come out and start that, and then grateful that we had the opportunity to share and experience and taste their culture.
That's a good one.
That's a really good
So
one.
grateful for
So,
that.
I love the grateful part. I feel so
So
wholesome.
wholesome.
Makes me
Finish on a
Damn.
good note. I'm
Yeah.
glad we went peeved and grateful.
Finish, bad news first.
Yeah.
Now, Bridget, what have you been listening to this week?
Because it's music of the week.
Music of the week.
Music of the week. I've been listening to a lot of Stella Donnelly.
Ooh,
Do you
yes.
know?
Emma's a fan.
Emma's a fan. We're going. Well, we haven't bought the tickets, but she's got a gig in September.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I want to go. She's like, I've been really into like kind of Aussie folk, indie Aussie folk. I really love
Indie rock.
She's not really rocky.
She's- yeah,
Sorry. So sorry.
You're never back on the show?
Get out! What did I say? Yeah, I really like her music. Tells like a really nice story.
Yeah.
I like that. I've just been listening to a lot, and like Angie McMahon.
Angie McMahon has a fantastic
the
voice.
best.
Oh my
She
god.
is so good.
She's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
really
love-
cool music.
Yeah. And I've been trying to get more into Bowie, cause like I've been going back and kind of listening to like one album at a time, cause I talk about him, but I don't know him that well, so
Yeah.
I want to listen to some more classic, like but the whole album and in order. Do you know?
Yeah,
how
just like press play and let
yeah,
it
yeah,
go through it.
cause I've been doing some Bowie, which is good.
Bowie.
Nice.
Bowie.
And Curtis?
This week I've not been listening to much music at all, but one artist that I discovered this week that really got me going is very unique. It was Bjork.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
good
a bit
one.
of fun.
Bjork.
So weird, very strange, very diverse.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah.
Can't even call it a genre, there's so much going on, but it's just like a really unique female vocalist and a band behind her doing all sorts of stuff, but really famous.
Yeah. Nice.
Bjork. And you?
Well, I just searched up then so I could give an accurate description, but I'm still listening to a lot of like bluesy, fuzzy sort of rock.
Yeah.
Really into that at the moment, sort of doom and metal. I went a little bit lighter this week and I was listening to more like more of the blues side of things, and a band called Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. So they've got a really cool, almost country blues rock thing going on, which I'm really enjoying, which maybe because I've been watching a bit of Sons of Anarchy, so I'm listening to this and imagining myself as a bikie. Maybe I would never do that.
But it's all in your head.
It's all in my head, it's just a fantasy. So yeah, I've been listening to a lot of that and
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it a
Cool.
lot.
Cool. Stella Donnelly, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club.
Bit of
Bjork.
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 And Bowie.
And Bowie.
Right,
Is that the last segment?
that is the last
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Do we do other segments? I don't think.
We usually have a challenge of the week, but I don't think
Oh,
so.
challenge of the
Challenge
week.
is to go vegan.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I could go. Well, I've already bought my pescatarian lunch. feel weird now talking about it so much and ramping it up, and now I'm like, I'm going to go back to eating tuna during the
Well,
week.
that's like me being like, keep your cats indoors and feed them well, and I'm not.
No, you know what? I'm definitely going to commit to a week of being vegan. That's something I've wanted to do for a while now. So I will check back in with the podcast when I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
But probably won't be this
Possibly
week.
next week.
Treat your
After
pets
you finish your fish.
Could definitely, yeah. Once I get through it, I could just go for it. And well, treat your
Yeah,
pets well.
Treat your pets well.
When
as
I
well.
go home, I
like
usually
twice a day challenge.
like when I cook at home, it's all potatoes and tofu and shit. So anyway, challenge of the week, I guess, is still going on with the sobriety. Actually.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, still
So
going on with
much
that. So we're staying sober, and we'll be able to check back in next week.
Next weekend, no drinks.
Yeah, no weeks next drink end.
Nothing on next weekend.
Oh, you can join us, Bridget.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Episode 7.
episode 7. Bridget, thank you
That's
for joining
okay.
us. Thank you for
I had such a
sharing
good
everything.
time.
It was so
I was so
interesting
nervous.
chatting
You
to
could
you.
probably tell at the beginning I was really nervous about
And
it.
you hit the flow
just-
state.
Yeah, you
just
just go,
flow.
yeah, you get that
Sam,
out.
thanks for sitting in.
Thank you so much, Sam.
How long has it
So
been? Like an
good.
hour and a
Yeah.
half?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
A bit over.
A long one for you guys.
1 hour 47
That's
minutes.
this is the
47
longest
seconds.
episode we've done, I think.
It is, yeah.
I really like the guest thing.
Is that just because you're the guest?
Yeah.
I like the guest thing when it's
But
me.
I like it being on.
No,
We
it's
loved
definitely
having you
good.
on. This has been fantastic.
Yeah.
This is going to be a hit.
A hint. New to your pets and
Adopt, don't shop.
And go vegan.
And give
Definitely.
and give your pets a few veggies as well, because they
Yeah.
don't they
Micros.
shouldn't. Yeah, exactly.
Calorie count for your pets.
Yeah.
Do it for them. They deserve it.
Yeah.
2,000 a day.
Get your pets on intermittent fasting. They all do intermittent
They
fasting.
are.
You feed them
They're one meal a day.
OMAD diet. 1 meal a day.
Huge.
Well, thanks for listening to episode 7.
Yeah, thanks
Getting this
guys.
far. Thanks for having
Thanks
me.
for coming.
I've
No,
really enjoyed
it's
it.
a
Yeah.
pleasure, and I'm sure we'll see you again.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anytime.
Oh yeah.
I'm here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we'll see you guys next week on another Culture Cafe production.
Woo.
Awesome. Thank you very much. See you next time.
See ya.